Welcome back to Heart Path Podcast, and we have the lovely Kate Graham as our guest, and she is a shamanic oracle, the visionary and creatrix of OracleFest, which you will hear about today, as well as running retreat. There's so many things that you're doing now and that you've expanded into, which is very, very exciting to hear. And I do want to touch on, you are our first guest on Heart Path Podcast. Woo! So we're back. We are revisiting that. And I had the privilege of meeting Kate's, in, where were we? Cambridge in 2023.
We
So
were in Cambridge.
yes.
Yeah, I couldn't give you the year, but yeah.
Yeah, first time meeting you in real life, and we just had this instant connection, and so lovely to see you and all of the things that you're doing. And welcome back.
It's nice to be
So
back. It's always nice.
I have a question. Just when I see shamanic oracle, and some people might be curious about that as well. What is that? What does that mean?
Yeah, great question. And in some way, your like segue and your bridge is also my answer, because I feel like what does it mean? It's like you have to ask a little bit further anyway. And I like being able to describe a little bit further. We're not so attached to titles. It's just sort of like here's the handshake, and then you have to actually have the first conversation to see whether that is good networking for you. So shamanic would be leaning to shamanic principles or shamanism, depending on where you are. In the UK, they pronounce it a lot, shaman. But shamanic would be about earth and spirit combined. And it uses a lot of, I would say I use a wider understanding of shamanism, which is being in a trance-like state in order to connect to the non-ordinary realms, however you define them. And I would say those are exponential in existence. And so I quite like the beyond. I'm never bored in that space. I think that's actually part of why I call my business Heart's Frontier, because it's this idea that I really love like frontiers and expanses. And you can think about space and how endless it feels when you think about spiritual work as well. And so shamanic would be leaning to these more ancient practices, journeying, connecting with animals and plants as guides, as well as upper realm, which would be more humanoid kind of guides. People might use saints, angels. I speak to whoever is delivering messages. I speak to whoever will pick up the phone. And I really enjoy that wide and open, accepting framework, but it doesn't feel very like super clear and dogmatic. It's something that actually people have used these principles in almost every ancient culture in some way, like drumming and singing and dancing and just needing to connect with something outside of ourselves. And we can find a lot of similarities in a lot of our practices. So that's why I like shamanic. Shamanic healing has been very important to my personal journey. And then oracle being someone who uses like divination and prediction and looks into the beyond as well. So the subconscious and the more internal beyonds, I would say. And also, yeah, predictions in future, maybe prophecy type, without being too grandiose. The role of the oracle would be to help feel into the unseen. So shamanic oracle is where I've landed. An artist as well, but the artistry and choosing that path is a lot newer to my audiences, or at least me declaring loudly online.
Yeah, well, and you're writing, so you are a writer, but what
Yeah.
are the facets or the ways in which you allow your artistry to
Yeah.
play?
Yeah. Well, this is an interesting one because for about like, must be close to it's like 2 or 3 years now. This one's been cooking in my subconscious. In a way, it's like been kind of downloading of bit by bit what this is going to look like. It was very loud in a journey. It was like, you are a shamanic artist. I went, that doesn't really, I don't think that exists. You got to explain it a little bit further. And they were like, neon lights, this is you, this is you. And again, it's like they're not giving you a map. You're not getting your how to of what is exactly next. But I've grown to just have faith in those messages so I kept working with this title, this shamanic artist title. Also, if you hear doggies fighting in the background, they've decided this conversation is
This
very
is the
exciting.
time. Yes.
Yeah, this is playtime. Yeah. Hey, puppies. They're just gonna have some really interesting growls and things because I don't want to, tell them to stop. I'll use my mother voice if I need to. Hey, hey.
Can I just say it's funny? Because, well, and you might experience this whenever I'm hosting online calls or classes, more often than not, the animals just want to come and be part of it.
Oh my gosh. I mean, so we were just talking before we started because I used to run the empath energetics program. And so often during the empath, because I'm working with highly sensitive individuals for a number of years and helping them train their intuition, all of them would be like, "Oh, sorry, my kids are in the background. Oh, sorry, this animal doesn't usually come into the room, but for some reason hears Kate's voice and is like suddenly here." Like I've had Zoom I've had Zoom calls where there's like a dog sitting in place of the human, really genuinely like watching me, and I'm thinking, I wonder if this dog knows how to take notes.
It's fun, but they
Oh,
know.
it's so good.
They
They
know because
do.
they're
They do.
they're in tune. They don't
Yeah.
have the doubts, the worries, the fears, whatever the human has, and they just want to be part of it. Well, they are
They
part of
do.
it. Yeah.
They are. We're all good friends. These two especially, they're like the same size, like of dog on the floor, and
Yeah.
they're like little sausagey dogs. So they kind of just are like very floppy over each other. It's very funny, very funny. Anyway,
Okay.
so the
Shamanic
shamanic
artistry.
yeah,
Yes.
shamanic artistry. The shamanic artistry role has been coming for me almost before I felt ready for it. And I've had certain people. I've had very
Can I can I pause
yeah,
you? I'm so
yeah,
sorry, but what you
no,
said is so important. Coming to you before you felt you were ready for it. Like that is a common theme that happens. We have these either visions, which we'll talk about more with OracleFest, with these visions or these roles or these duties, and it's just like, what do you mean?
yes. I said that actually when I was back in college because I had friends who where I was describing kind of what I saw from my life, and it wasn't anything what we were studying. And I was just sort of like, I don't know. This is kind of what I'm seeing in my mind. And my friends were like, wow, you should just be like so lucky that you know what you want to do. I was like, well, it feels like a 10-ton truck to me right now because it's not where I am. So I don't know which is easier, right? Is like, do you really want your visions? Are you ready? In a way,
Mm.
are you really ready to like drop the act of you're getting everything you want in the time that you have to just be really okay with not having that vision come to life until the moment or until the way it's meant to happen happens. And I think that like patience game really frustrates a lot of people. And so they just divert from what they were actually like here or meant to do. And I just have a really stubborn streak. And so I just kept saying yes. No, there's more to it than that. But like, I do think that's a big part of it was actually being just really stubborn that is clearly a dream or a vision. And so it must be able to happen somehow, and like playing the game of that and taking very much risks when it comes to that as well. Like shamanic artistry, actually, to circle back, it would be a really big risk because I've been teaching intuition. I've been very quietly doing my music work, so my artistry looks like music, but also visual arts and dance and performance. And Tara's like, "Oh, right, I've heard you sing."
Yes,
Yeah,
beautiful,
but there's
beautiful.
deeper. There's actually like a whole ancestral healing album that I've been working on, which is also really beautiful. It goes with the stories and poetry written by an ancestor within my Scottish clan from the early 1600s. And for me, the shamanic artistry looks like music and poetry. And I was just explaining, I've met my ancestor in my ancestral line in Scotland since being here. It's a big reason why I've often, I didn't really explain that, but I'm also nomadic and I tend to spend a lot of time in Scotland now, but I'm originally from Canada. So I've been exploring my story of feeling at home in the world and coming back to myself through understanding and actually reconciling the stories of the men of my ancestry. And because I think our patriarchy affects us in, all lots of ways. And so in part of releasing that collective wound, I've been using my ancestors or an ancestor within my clan's poetry and turning them into songs, because he actually felt a lot of like heart-centered things, even though he was very much involved in war and battle, and he was executed. So I even have a poem from the evening of his execution that he wrote. Um,
how did you get your hands on these poems?
he's,
How?
yeah, he's a well-known figure. So James Graham, the first Marquis of Montrose, or the Great Montrose, is like a historical figure. There's actually a whole society dedicated to the remembering of him, which I'm also nerdily a part of.
That's
I am,
cool.
I think, one of the youngest members, at least the youngest member who attends the annual general meeting. But it is amazing, and I do think that there's a lot of value in us recognizing the stories of people who have come before us. And hilariously, sometimes I will work with one of these poems, turn them into song, and my friends will be like, "Oh, that's one of your songs," because the lyrics will still resonate in some kind of way. The words still do. He was quite a romantic. Actually, after he was executed, someone stole his heart and put it in a box, and we don't know where it is today.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
Wow. So
It is
how did you find out that this was part of your ancestry? Like how
well,
was
I
that?
know that, yeah, it is challenging. So, like, I know that I'm part of the Grahams of Montrose. There's the Grahams
Yes.
of Menteith and the Grahams of Montrose. And so I know
Okay.
that that was part of the title. So I'm not sure directly how connected to him I am, which is another part of the story, because I think we can kind of negate, like, I'm not allowed to be connected to him. I don't have the right, because that can be how we look at lineages,
Yeah.
trying to protect the lineage for its history and its accuracy. But I certainly am very connected to the spirit of this man. And so at this point, he's family and it's fine.
Yes.
But there is that kind of, that other lens of, yeah, there's a few decades of time where it's difficult to track. For me, it's William James Graham, William Graham, James Graham. As you go through down the line, they didn't change names a lot. It's really easy,
No.
and then you get to a stopping point. And so, yeah, I would love, actually, if anyone ever happens to listen to this and know a guy to know a guy, or know a woman to know a woman, to
Yeah.
help me with patching the rest of that history. I would love that. But at this moment, it just becomes like an exploration of story and song. And then I also very much can see myself walking into the visual art space much more clearly, and also sharing my own original songs. So also the shamanic sound healing. I was actually recently interviewed for someone who was writing her master's thesis on shamanic sound, and she had attended a workshop of mine and was just like, wow, you do things very differently. And wanted to understand a little bit of just the my approach or the mentality behind shamanic sound. And I'll be sharing some actually at the transformation podium. I know
Oh,
I know. I decided to step into that, for our November 1st transformation podium for OracleFest, because, yeah, there was like, you know, this is me yammering on, so I'll let you actually ask a different question at some point here, because one story is leading into the next. But
oh,
Oracle,
it is perfect.
okay. Like normally I actually talk a bit more back and forth with someone, but podcasts
Oh,
are like that. So, yeah. What I've found this year, we were talking about this before we started the recording, of like, there's a lot of just letting this year be a little messy and a little unwound for me, anyways. In the spring, I knew it was like, I'm going to get this amazing activation with this beautiful first Oracle Fest event that went so much better than what I could have even imagined for myself. It kind of blew my expectations out of the water. And then I have to rise now to meet the fullness of the vision, because my brain wasn't meeting it at the start. And so that's going to require some loosening up of lots of different things, and some getting in order as well. Like, I was getting a lot of migraines earlier this year, and I was like, listen, I can't be running Oracle Fest and be having all these migraines. It's not going to work so well, right? I need the screen time. I need to be able to feel connected and clear. And I have way, 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 way fewer of them. I've learned so much more about what my body's saying and what these signs mean this year. So OracleFest itself has been very much an activation, and that transformation podium, this one spot was like just really difficult to Phil, it's something that's teaching me something this year. That's what it's been. This is our first year. So all these podiums have been going through the Celtic Wheel of the Year and through all these seasonal changes. And so we've been changing with the seasons. And one of them was all about abundance, and all these amazing things started rushing in right before the abundance podium. It was like I was getting all the healing of it right before. And there was this one spot about wealth consciousness that we had a late dropout where the speaker had said, "Oh my gosh, I'm not gonna be able to do that. I actually like can't, and I'm not gonna like be at your event." And so I was like, "Well, as long as it's not wealth consciousness, we'll be fine. I'll fill in all the rest, right?" And wouldn't you know it, I was like, oh, okay, I think this is a sign. I think this is saying, because actually Carrie Ann in OracleFest, she's our volunteer, she's amazing. And she had said, oh, you could do it. I don't know what you're talking about. You could easily do it. Like with the way you speak, you could easily talk about wealth consciousness. I don't know what you're saying. And so it is about like, okay, how do we match the visions that are coming forth for us? And the same with this one. I was like, I don't really know about sound healing. I'll let the sound healers do that, you know? And of course, I do a lot of sound healing work, and I don't know why I wouldn't. I mean, come on. It's going to be so fun too, right? Like, why wouldn't I have more fun with something that I'm here creating anyway? So I'll be doing like an ancestral connection sound journey for us after our transformation live readings on November 1st. How exciting! But yeah, there's so much. There's the music and the art and the writing. And I used to do burlesque performance. I could very much see that aspect of me coming back with statement pieces and visual art that speaks to wounds that we're feeling on a collective level, giving them a form instead of being stuck in my body or in my mind, frustrating me. It's like putting that rage to good use. That's what it feels like in this era. Yeah.
So is this something that, because you've this has been part of your life
Mhm.
previously, but some of it, is it perhaps, how am I trying to word this? Have you resisted some of it, or bringing it forward in more of a working capacity or sharing capacity because of what you have previously done or how your business has been?
Yes, in many ways. So there's a few kind of layers to actually answer that. It's a great question. Um, so I initially, when I went into healing and spiritual work, I actually resisted the healing and spiritual work because I think a lot of people feel this when they're just starting out. I did not want to not like it. I was like, we're gonna really enjoy this, and it's gonna be healing, and it's gonna be beautiful. I don't want anything messing that up, so I don't want to put pressure on it. I don't want to put super high expectations of myself or of clients, of potential clients. I don't want to put that desperation or urgency out there. And I think also I just was like, I want to feel really clear and good at what I'm offering and not try to like rush this. So much I think can feel so rushed. And I never wanted to have like a relationship with healing that felt like stressful, because it's healing. It's the opposite of that. And I knew that very early on. And so I think now that I've cleared that and I'm very fully in healing work and doing spiritual work, now the layer comes that underneath that was also artistry and self expression. That underneath the healing, there's also the like creative and the what is underneath as I do my healing. There's like this pure creative expression and inspiration that's wanting to be shown. So it's kind of like just the next evolution or next layer of my oracle journey. I think some people might go at it the opposite way. Like a lot of artists are already oracles, but may not self recognize as an oracle because they are feeling and intuitive and sensing and like predictive sometimes with their art as well. And so, yeah, that's just the order that mine went on. But I've for years, like I think since college, people have been wanting me to put out an album, and I'm like, yeah, 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 because I went to film school, so I have like skill enough to also create and do the film aspects and music video as well. So it's not for shortage of like,
Nice.
yeah.
Girl. So happy when I got that messenger like song singing to me. I'm like, what?
You know, I like you if I've sent you a song, yeah, at some point, it means I trust you totally, because that was the
Yes.
other piece, really, like healing felt like an obvious thing to talk about because it's like you're talking about suffering and more people talk about suffering, but the
Yeah.
art and talking about like what actually makes me like angry and frustrated and it being a bit more like my songs have always felt very much like a cryptic diary where it's very much translating exactly what I'm feeling. Someone may or may not see it, and so there's always that real risk of putting yourself out there and being like way more exposed, way more vulnerable. And yeah, that I think that has brought out a lot more nervous hiding energy compared to some people feel that with spiritual healing and with their spiritual journey because of judgments that they might have around them. I think I just happen to witness more judgments against artists, so you know that's just where they got hung up for me. And yeah, oh joy, we get to clear them, which is so amazing, and get to feel freer and freer in life. That's what it's all
Well,
about.
and even, to touch on being in that truest state of authenticity as well, where it's like you might be exposed, you might feel vulnerable, but you're not hiding those parts of you, or you're not hiding those art forms that, we could say it's our artistic expression, but it's really the divine using
Mhm.
us as the instruments for the artistic expression. And sometimes, I don't know, we get in the way. The fears get in the way, the doubts, like not wanting to be judged can get in the way, but some things have their own way of just becoming, whether we put time, care, or energy into it as well.
Yes. Yeah, I really don't believe that like we need as much effort as what we were taught we would like need growing up. And I also often tell people like it's not necessarily that you need more time because I've done things in a very short amount of time with like a ton of years of subtle prep or with very little prep and suddenly just jumping in and learning as I go. And so there's no real sense of like actually how much time something has to take us, but we use that as an excuse a lot. Like I hear it a lot of like, oh yeah, it'll just take time. Like, all right, or you make a choice right now. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, it
Yeah.
does happen often, especially because I deal with like beliefs work. People until they feel like they're ready to make the choice of adopting a new belief will be like,
Yeah.
well, that's not the way I see it yet. Like, you're right, you got to choose it.
Well,
Sometime or other.
it all comes down to that choice. It's so true. And we were talking a little bit earlier before coming on here, but yeah, 2025 has definitely been a year of, it's like the planning or like the constant choosing yes of like, this is the future goal, this is the vision. And in this moment, it might not be here right now, or in this moment, like things do not seem to be adding up to that, but I'm going to say yes anyway, and not giving up, not pulling the plug, like continuing to hold the vision.
Yeah.
Huge.
You said that to me the other day, and it really struck me in a very necessary place for myself
Mm.
and I think the support for OracleFest. You were like, I'm just so glad you're holding the line with OracleFest because we need it. And you know, it really reminded me of there are people who are like looking out saying, hey, I really hope something keeps going with that, you know, whether we say it all the time or see it or not, right? Because it'd be weird to drop it in my inbox every week, you know, just, hey, Kate, keep going, you know, it'd be like, all right, mom. But I mean, these little moments of like, hey, yeah, you can still like you can still do this, you can still stick to it. But also, I would say like in order to keep sticking to those newer things and the visions coming forward for you, it's also like choosing not to go into the paths of old or the patterns of old or structures and systems that just don't work for you. There's a lot of like things that people I think have outgrown at this point in our world. And so we see a lot of, I don't know, do you not find people are a bit more grumpy these days? There's like a general like grouchiness, like not necessarily like super angry, super dark, but just kind of like a crabbiness that people will kind of like.
Well, and is it a grumpiness, or is it people being more real?
Yeah, so I think there is this like collective switch. So I'm so glad you said it that way. Yeah, because I think a lot of the times people were like hiding behind like superficial and surface things. And so I agree that like to be uncomfortable and discontented and frustrated and annoyed at things is actually part of us healing the
Yeah.
feelings of like repression of, oh, don't bother feeling any of that, or there's no time to feel any of that. There's a pandemic on our hands. It's whatever is going on that is overwhelming for the collective. A lot of my focus is ancestral healing and then also collective healing, because it to me feels like the future ancestors is to tune
Yes.
into the collective mind and how we're healing forward. And I think just because OracleFest is wanting to, work its way through me and all of us,
Yeah.
but certainly me at the helm at the moment, it's just asking me to like put my attention there. Whereas most practitioners working on a one-to-one basis, it's a lot easier just to be like, let's focus on the one-to-one. But
Yeah.
the more time I spend in this collective mind, the less doom and gloom I've felt, because I really sense like a pretty neutral state of like forward progression rising over time. And it's not very overwhelming because I don't see it happening super fast. But a lot of us who have had like a spiritual awakening and escalation, ascension, you've had this moment where like, things are not so dark and it makes more sense. And why doesn't everyone think this way? And then it goes into like a criticism of our world.
Yes.
That's
I didn't
also
even
this, yeah, that's also like this grouchy grumpiness, right? So you can say it's like in the name of light because you want it to be better, but you are still like holding a judgment of just where humans are currently at. And we are all doing our best with the information we have and the experiences we have. I'm all about like, let's just have some collective innocence be sprinkled over. And if you see every person who is in your mind, like hurting you or bossing over your life or having an authority that you do not trust, like the idea that there would be a collective growing distrust in systems and political structures,
Mhm.
that is one way an uprising and one way a coming together, right? It's like whichever side of
Absolutely.
it you're wanting to lean on. And so no judgment to wherever people are coming from, but I have a lot of empathy for those people who are in the fear part of it still, and looking for like a way to feel like they can just think for themselves again, because there's a lot of voices in our world right now to tune into, way more than what we used to have access to. So many voices.
Well, and even in terms of there are so many voices, but then AI, like
Yes.
that's rampant as well. So
Yeah.
what are the voices even?
Yeah.
Where are they
And
coming
so,
from?
I mean, I love that too, because AI to me is like, um, a to me, this is maybe going to sound rude. This is cheeky of me, but it almost feels like AI is like a more faulty version of our ability to tune into the collective mind and
Mm,
collective understanding, because it is going based on inputs and what it has received, from those of us who have like internet and not necessarily those of us who have hearts. And there's a lot of people who have hearts who are not actually stuck into AI right now. If you just look at the world in general, right? There's just a lot of people, there's a lot of people in your life who don't use AI, who are just like, oh, it's scary. And then they just don't use it. And so there's lots of people we know that are part of this collective mind believing in a better world who may not even be informing that. So, but kind of cool that in a way we're realizing how connected we all are through something like AI if we want to find a positive view. And the other side is obviously quite challenging to think that we are maybe going to, many of our people will be in the fear and either fear it having power over us or
mm,
power over them, because that would be a shame for anyone to
that's
think that it
awful.
has, right? That would just be awful. And that's going to happen to a lot of people. A lot of people are going to feel like this has power over them. That's just the reality. That's
Yeah.
already how it feels. And then there's also this like really, really dark kind of aspect, which is what if we actually devalue the human, in this
Mm,
process, and we devalue what we feel it is to be human and to have a spirit and to be able, so great time for all of us to be raising our voices, great time for OracleFest to exist and to
yes.
for more and more people to recognize this part of them. Honestly, that's what I kind of come down to. It can be a bit dark. We're in a dark era of humanity. That's all right. That's all right. What do we have with us?
Yes, like that connection to the divine, God source, like just and remembering that. And can I just say, don't ask Chat GPT to read your Akashic records or like past
No,
life readings. Like, don't
no,
ask Chat GPT to do that because
no. It's not
it's
going to
not.
find the truth of what you're actually needing, right? Like what you're needing
Yes,
is within and beyond, actually.
yes,
It's even beyond that, which is crazy. The non-ordinary is beyond AI? Heck yeah, it is.
yes. So actually, so let's talk about Oracle Fest as well, because the main event is I'm not even going to say anything. I will let you talk about it. I don't want to give misinformation for dates, but
Yes.
the
Yes.
first event that you had was last year. But yeah,
Yeah.
Oracle Fest. Let's talk about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So you're right. The big Oracle Fest, the first one ever was last year. It's an online
Or was
event.
it this
And
year? Oh my gosh, it's still
well, it was,
2025.
yeah,
Sorry.
technically this year because it's end of January. So you're right. It's like within this. But in my mind, we're like in the second year of business. So you're not wrong. Like we were
I know.
building it around this time. So it is, yeah, we're like about a year in of planning as well. So you're not wrong. But this year's big Oracle Fest, we're going to do again around the same time. I really think this end of January time is just like so perfect because we're sort of in a quieter zone. We can actually take in a lot more inspiration in that depth of winter. And we have a lot more like that tucked in, cozy energy. And I think that's what's needed when you take in all this spiritual activation. You have to be in a really rooted place. So it's like get your stews and your soups and your hot cocoa and whatever you need and kind of tuck in. I think it's going to work really well throughout the years at that time. So that's what we'll do is we'll always have the big Oracle Fest online end of January. And then throughout the year, we've been dropping in a few different events here and there that are the podium events, which every speaker carries a pillar of medicine. We meet on Oracle Mountain, this visionary space, so that we always go visit during Oracle Fest events. And so, yeah, it's almost like all year we're building towards this big, big festival at the end of January. And these podium events have been getting excitement like leading up to it and celebrating certain seasons, solstices and things like that. And each of the speakers will come in, but then there's also a live readings portion where people can approach the podium. You approach the podium with a question, you're looking for insight. Then these oracles will share with you what they see, our speakers and our leaders. And not every speaker will give you advice, but there will be like the ones who are meant to and who feel a connection. And so it's a beautiful way, especially if people are just starting out on this path, to get like a variety of information, like a whole bunch of different things going on. You might see past life regression hypnotherapy, you might see shamanic work, you might see star seeds and galactic work, you might see much more like earth based wisdom and storytelling. You're going to see like a whole bunch of different things, channeling, all that stuff, astrology, blah, 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 blah. I would just go on like a crazy long list because we're going to have 44 speakers at the big one this year.
Oh,
um,
wow.
yeah, so we had 28 at the last one, and 44 was the number for this year. So many of those folks are already signed up and getting excited for Oracle Fest. And then we have a few different events leading up to it as well this year. So it just feels like more so a movement like that is building momentum. It feels very much like a vision that is much bigger than some online events, and it's much cooler than boring conferences or summits where you just go and visit the one person you thought you might want to know about and it's free and everyone just dips in and out and no one cares. It's really much more like a unified ongoing experience. Like I host the whole time.
Yeah.
So I know fully what an activation it is, and I just do my stretches in between and do my little walks in between. Sometimes I listen on my earbuds to someone as I'm, going around or eating my meals, but I'm really there like all day. And I would say it's like life changing so far, for anyone who invests themselves into it, like who really takes in even half of what is going on at Oracle Fest. There's so much there.
So the podium, we've talked about that a little bit, the transformation podium. That's November 1st.
Yeah.
What is that about for folks that might be interested? I'll be
Yeah.
there, by
You'll
the
be
way.
there. Yeah, you'll be there. It's going to be beautiful. So Dr. Stephen Farmer is going to be there. We're also going to have Perdita Finn. We have you. We have Michelle Matuzas. Michelle Matuzas and Dr. Stephen Farmer were two folks that like I had carried their books and oracle decks for years and years and years before planning OracleFest, and they were of the first 5 people to sign up and say yes last year. So it was part of my like, this is happening, this is meant to be, because just taking on a limb, hoping that maybe someone will find it interesting and take the chance on me in this first year. And so many people did, like really, really amazing people did. And so, yeah, and then we also have Kate Powell. Kate Powell will be talking about story, but also like ancestors and land. And this is, I think, a very important part of transformation. Perdita Finn is going to be talking about death and prayer. Michelle Matuzas also has this shamanic healing and empath lean, and she will be talking about transmutation of energies. So like this shape shifting and how we like really, and it'll be similar but very different to what you're talking about, which is going to be heart alchemy. And then Tony Ghazi is there. Tony Ghazi is also a favorite because he is just like so fiery, full of energy, and he is a channeling maestro. So that is what he will be bringing. So channeling, I think, is so important for transformation, because as we get to experience different energies through, we actually know how to get out of the way more. So what you were talking about, getting out of the way, it was like leading me so easily into thinking, I mean, this is a lot of what we're here to teach as oracles and as guides in the spiritual world, is like, how do we help people get out of the way without pushing ourselves out of the way, right?
Yeah.
Without giving us the boot, or without feeling disconnected or distant, because that's a different kind of getting out of the way than we want to do. And that's why it gets tricky, because we're meant to empty out but not leave completely. Well, how can we do that, right? And it's through these practices. It's through understanding there's another non-ordinary space or another timeline or some other energy that you may not be fully in. You can step halfway into that, halfway here, and hopefully feel landed. And like over time, we develop different skills and tools that help with that. That's like a very simple way of starting to like put it together, I hope. Because there are a lot of like people starting out on their journey that find it very like overwhelming, very overwhelming to think about doing all this. So yeah.
Well, those are keywords as well, over time, right? Because you're learning or feeling or understanding or know, like you're deciphering or perhaps even translating. If you were like a language translator, you're translating the way spirit communicates with you, or how you understand that. And it will be
Yeah,
different for everyone. And it
every single
can take
person.
time.
It can, and it does take effort. And sometimes that time and effort gets like triple speed because you go to an event or you meet a person
Yes.
who allows you
Yes.
to like zoom forward. And other times
Mhm.
we take our leisurely pace and we're like, okay, tortoise in the hare, we're just going to keep plodding along. And the first animal that I ever worked with was a turtle, and I had this struggle in me. So I say it because I know that actually, like, I got turtle given to me, and I was like, don't think so. I was like, I refuse. I would like something faster and something cooler, please.
I always hear slow and steady wins the race. I always think of
That's what
that.
people said. That's what people said to me, and I went, that's not good enough. But I do think, like, I'm joking in a way, but I actually was. I think a lot of things like we resist that are actually really great for us at the start. There is this like moment of like, I don't know about that. I just had a fear about, did that mean I was slow? Did that mean I was awkward or clumsy? Or, and it was funny because this intuitive I was working with, she was like, oh, but like turtles are so awkward and weird on the land, but as soon as they hit a current in the water, they're so fast and they know exactly where they're going. And I went, fine, fine, I can take that. And so I became a lot easier on myself during these awkward times being on the sand, because it's so a part of the magic of how my whole life comes together. And that's a creative's life as well, and an entrepreneur's life. We usually have waves and cycles. Even for those human design folks, if you're a generator like myself, I'm a generator and I need these things to feel like they're, connected to me, and I feel alive and I feel excited by them. right?
I'm a generator too, and I was
Yeah.
disappointed I wasn't a manifestation
I
generator.
can
Were you
totally
similar?
see that, and I understand completely. I understand your pain. I would also like to be special, right? I don't just want to be powerful. I want to be powerful with some add-on that helps me do other things that sound a lot more spiritual and cool.
Yeah. But we can be generators.
Honestly, and I think like because you've held retreats before as well, and I'm just going into that realm of holding retreats. And even though for years I've known that this is what I'm going to do, I also was like, keep it precious, like keep cautious about who you're aligning with and what you actually want to bring out there. And I think I held out till like the best time, and now it feels so exciting to do, and all the right things align. I can tell another story about that another time. But I feel like when you're doing retreats, you do have to have like a lot of that generator energy. You have to be able to be someone who can kind of like withstand the day, unless you do retreats that are totally working differently. I respect sometimes people just make different schedules. I really like being all on, and I'm very good at being all on and all in, and I really enjoy that. And I will rest after, right? Like I just
Right.
held an ancestral healing retreat. That's some deep stuff, right? I definitely had migraines going into that week because there was so much building up in the tension of what I was sensing coming in that was ready to get released. Migraines all gone by the last day, and then you take rest right after, because even though you're a generator, you know that you're also still human. And so you still have these like limits, but I do think generator energy is really, really helpful for things like retreats or when there's like endurance based work
Mhm.
projects. Yeah.
Oh, and you need to rest. Oh, you just book another little holiday after the retreat.
So good. It's so
Oh,
good. Yeah, that's what I'm going to start building in is like a few days after everyone, and just knowing what's going to come after so I can just sort of float into it and help myself land. Yeah, it'd be so great.
so what are ways that people can work with you or be in your sphere? Because things have changed since you were last on the podcast. So what are the main offerings that you have or invitations for people into your world? What does that look like?
It's been a changing year, Tara, in like the best way. Just every door that I used to have open or halfway open, I'm like, are we open or closed? What are we doing here? Open or closed? Let's make a decision. And so, yeah, one of the things that I've decided to open back up in my life, and that feels so exciting. Again, these generators talking about like what really excites us and gets us motivated is a spirit-led business group mentorship. So helping a group of people who have spirit-led businesses, so it doesn't have to be spiritual, but they feel as though there's like a deeper component to the work that they're doing, because we will work with certain spiritual concepts as well as we go. But then I use all my virtual assistant expertise and my social media and marketing background and my love for the entrepreneur and the spirit of that, the whole awakening journey that is something I've loved long before I found spirituality. Long
Yeah.
before I actually knew I was going into spiritual work, I was a super business geek. So that is staying. That's coming back and staying. Where I do business group mentorship. People can come interact with my energy through the OracleFest sphere because I host all the events. So I'm there. I'm there. I'm fixing the website. I'm customer service along with Carrie Ann. What are we barking at? Benson is like, he's a really cute and he's a very quiet dog normally.
He's
So I
giving
feel
it
like,
up. He's like, yeah.
yeah, I literally feel like he's my hype dog right now. He's like kind of like trumpet fanfaring me. Like if I was going, hey, I'm good. When I was going into like a medieval village and as the town crier, I feel like he's my crier dog. Yeah, this is a great image. And he's like doing a little stretch, like, oh, okay, I'm done my crying. Great. So perfect. Dogs are the best. And now he'll come over and say hi to us maybe. Oh, Mavens.
See? Yeah, Oracle Fest. This is your lady.
Right? He's like, just tell everyone about OracleFest. So OracleFest is like a good way of even on the YouTube for OracleFest. And then over at Heart's Frontier, where I do my healing work, I am shifting things, but I do still do one-to-one services. So I will still do hypnotherapy because I love it. I think it's so powerful, and I really like doing deep subconscious work. And anyone who's worked with me in the past or who's thought about it can still access like intuitive oracle time. There are these ways people can still work with me, but I would say what I'm shifting into is actually one one-to-one retreats and group retreats. And so really it would be to travel to experience something incredibly immersive. And so for me, it's been a while. I've been doing so much online because I'm fully nomadic. But now it really feels like the time where I want to work with people who are meeting me wherever they're at in their journey and saying, okay, I got to take a pause. I got to take a time out and I want to go all in, really get to the bottom of things, really get to the roots of things. So ancestral healing journeys, doing deep spiritual transformation based retreats. That is actually where I'm actually growing like the Scottish sanctuary idea, where I might have a 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 retreat space open for people up in the Highlands somewhere.
Oh,
Because I like the idea of people being able to like take a break. Like I imagine someone who gets like a long-term health diagnosis who just is like something's got to change. You know, like that's the kind of person I want to work with, or people who are like, okay, everything seems fine and I'm not fine, right? Like I have the wealth, I can take myself on a trip, but nothing is feeling right. No matter where I go, exactly. It's like there's something inside that still needs to shift. Or people who are like they've been dipping their toe on this path but are ready to go all in, because there's a lot of people waffling, and I'm a big like fire starter commitment energy. Yeah. So I'm just trying to help people with what I got, you know? That's a thing that I can help people with, is like you want to drive in all the way, like let's be with it.
power of choice, but over and over. Like you have to say
Yeah,
yes over and over again, even as
exactly.
facilitators and leaders. You
Mhm.
have to constantly freaking say yes to the
Yeah.
mission.
I was just saying that to you about this weekend. I was like, I really thought about saying no. I just was like floating it out there. Just maybe, maybe I could take some. And it's like no other way out is easier. This is another thing I would love to like really help people see differently. Is it's not actually easier to stay in your comfort zone. It's not at all easier to do that. Having been someone who has constantly been jumping and hopping and skipping outside of her comfort zone for a very long time,
Yeah.
and seeing how the longer I stay in what I would perceive as a comfort zone, the more uncomfortable I get. I really think we're thinking about it all wrong. Because a lot of people
Yes.
are like, oh yeah, it's just my comfort zone, just got to stay in here because I'm scared of change. Man, you're not scared of change. You're actually scared of staying exactly where you are, doing exactly what you're doing that's not working for you now, that is causing you to feel like there could be something else, because that could be something else is actually like pulling at you. And so the
Yes.
longer you stay there, the more tense that pulling is going to become, because it does get stronger and stronger if it's meant for you, right? And so anyways, that's another rant.
That's a whole other episode.
Oh, don't get me started.
So to add on to that, I'm going to have all the links in the show notes, but social media, website, where can they find you? So now they know the ways in which they can be in your world, but where do they find you? How do they
I'm
find
I'm liking YouTube a lot lately. I think if you sign up for like emails on OracleFest and on heartsfrontier.com, you're gonna get the need to know updates. You're gonna make sure you don't get like lost in the social media feeds. So I will
you?
say that, like clean up your email and like choose the ones that are interesting to you and choose things that are gonna help you develop. I like the OracleFest one at least because then you're getting introduced to a lot of different people. So you don't know who you're going to resonate with, right? And so if you're someone who's more in that non-committal category, it's a great way to start. Or if you're just looking to like super widen your knowledge, Heart's Frontier obviously for these cool retreats, and yeah, for any deeper healing work, or if you just like my energy and you want to see what I'm doing where I live, I usually update, oh, I've been here and here and here, and I don't know, this is what's next. And so there are sometimes quirky and informative newsletters. And then, yeah, the YouTubes. So I go by Shamanic Oracle on the Instagram and TikTok, but it's Heart's Frontier on YouTube. I might change that eventually, but Heart's Frontier is a bit of this like umbrella. It just holds anything my heart wishes to expand upon and grow into.
Such a
Yeah,
great medium with the retreats.
yeah, I think so
It's
too.
just
It's funny because like it's just fit for so many different things that I've needed it for so far. And I'm just going to keep doing that because I am a very, I grew up in like a gifted class, very multi-passionate brain. I want to be like five places at once.
Mhm.
And there's no sense in just trying to find new names for everything the whole time because you're going to name it whatever that person, and the person's just going to remember it however they're going to remember it, you know?
Yeah.
And so I don't get super fussy about names of a business at this point. Just like hold yourself somewhere
Yeah.
and let yourself be somewhere was my instruction to myself. And that's worked fine. It's worked fine through many evolutions. Because Heart's Frontier, again, it's like expansive. It's not limited to one thing
Mm.
that I would do. So it works for me, and that's why I'm keeping it.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Well, darling, thank you for our lovely conversation. And I guess the next place people could connect would be, I don't know, November 1st, Transformation Podium.
Maybe.
Maybe.
A little event we like to call the transformation podium. And actually, 6 days after that, we start the Trusting Your Visions 6 week journey. So definitely, like, just hop over to Oracle Fest. And if it kind of is like ringing some bells and you feel like you have to get out of your way and you feel like you need to follow your intuition, I'm going to be doing the Trusting Your Visions journey myself for my artwork. So you can
Yeah.
see what it looks like for me to get out of my own way because it's a process. It's a process, layer by layer. At least I've acknowledged it at this point. I am that, and
Yes.
now we'll let it be.
Amazing. Thank you, love. And we're going to say until next time because there will be a
Until
next
next
time.
time, I'll be back.
Lots of love. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.